Primary ballots are in the mail. I got mine, I think, last Thursday or so. Some people are filling them out right now. The Democrats, of course, aren't interested in my picks on their primaries, but Republicans are asking me who I'm supporting. I explained in the first part of this hour that I generally do not play favorites among Republicans in primary races, with a few exceptions. But here's one, and this one is a case study. It's a classic example. This is Jefferson County, State Senate District 19. It's a key county, and it's very much a swing county. There's a Republican primary, and let me give you my advice as to which of these two candidates you should certainly not vote for in the primary and which one you should. The one that I'm recommending is Lang Sias. And let me give you some history. Evie Hudak, a very, very liberal Democrat. Evie Hudak was in the pocket of the teachers union. That was her background in education. And she's the one who resigned her seat because she was the target of a recall. And it was clear that had she been recalled, that seat probably would have switched from Democrat to Republican. So Evie Hudak stepped down at the 11th hour just before the recall election. And also keep in mind that 2 Democrats were recalled recently, changing the Democrat advantage in the state Senate, which was 20-15. It changed it to 18-17. And had Hudak's seat gone to a Republican, the Democrats would have been the minority party in the legislature, would have given Republicans an 18-17 advantage. So Hudak took one for the team. She stepped down, and that allowed her seat to be filled with another Democrat leading up to the coming election in November. But let me take you back to 2012. That's when Hudak was last elected. That was, for the most part, a 3-way race. And Hudak got only 46.9% of the vote. She finished just barely ahead of Lang Sias. He was the Republican nominee who got 46.4% of the vote. So it was about 0.5% differential. And out of 38,000 votes cast, Hudak got only 332 votes more than Lang Sias. The reason that Hudak won and Lang Sias lost is because there was also a libertarian running in that race that had no chance of winning. Lloyd Sweeney was his name. He got 6.5% of the vote. He got 4,823 votes in an election that Hudak, the Democrat, won by only 332 votes. Presumably, if Sweeney had not been in and no libertarian were running, those libertarians, if they were forced to choose between Hudak and Lang Sias, would have gone for Sias, and he would have won. Well, Sias is running again. And this race is very winnable by Lang Sias, but challenging him in the primary is Laura Woods. Whatever Republican positions Laura Woods agrees with Lang Sias on, there's one that would be an absolute disqualification. She supports this personhood amendment, which would have the effect of not only banning but criminalizing certain commonly used forms of contraception, including IUDs and even certain forms of the pill. Democrats, if she's the Republican nominee, will kill her on this issue. And by the way, the last time this was on the ballot as a ballot question, it was defeated 70% to 30% statewide in Colorado. It's an absolute loser politically. Cory Gardner had earlier in his career supported a form of personhood, but that's when he represented a congressional district. Now, of course, Cory Gardner is running statewide. Cory Gardner is one of the challengers, presumably who will be the nominee to take on Mark Udall in the general election. And with a broader constituency, Cory Gardner has changed his position on the personhood amendment or some version of it. But if Laura Woods, whatever her other merits, were the Republican nominee, this would pretty much guarantee that the incumbent Democrat who was appointed to that position would hold it. The Senate is up for grabs in Colorado. This can be the difference between having a Democrat majority in the Senate, supporting the House majority of Democrats and John Hickenlooper if he's reelected, or having the Republicans with a majority in the Senate offering some counterbalance. Incidentally, if this personhood amendment were ever legislated or passed via a ballot question, it's an absolute slam dunk that it would be declared unconstitutional. This is a vanity exercise, this personhood amendment, but this is supported by people who are uncompromisingly, unalterably anti-abortion, or pro-choice, anti-abortion, pro-life, as they call it. But I should note that even the National Right to Life Committee opposes the personhood amendment as a means of pursuing a pro-life agenda. So there's a clear recommendation that I'm not reluctant to give. Lang Sias is the guy, and Laura Woods, however well-intentioned she might be, would keep that seat in Democrat hands. Now, Sias is a FedEx pilot. He's a lieutenant colonel in the Air National Guard. He's a solid conservative. Here's another wild card in that race. Rocky Mountain gun owners is endorsing Laura Woods, not Lang Sias. This is insane. Dudley Brown at Rocky Mountain Gun Owners is something of a single-minded radical, and he and I would flatly agree on the Second Amendment protections. But the reason he's not supporting Lang Sias is a matter of personal pique. He said Sias had not filled out the Rocky Mountain Gun Owners survey on gun policy, although Lang Sias has the endorsement of the National Rifle Association. And he had gotten the NRA's highest rating in 2 separate years. He's explained, Lang Sias has, that Rocky Mountain Gun Owners casts people as being opposed to the Second Amendment who are not opposed to the Second Amendment. And he's certainly not opposed to it. In a Denver Post story on this, it said, Brown, in an email to the Denver Post, Dudley Brown, who's head of Rocky Mountain Gun Owners, said, Rocky Mountain Gun Owners' primary goal is to repeal gun controls. Well, some of those gun controls that were passed by the Democrats and rushed through the legislature probably deserve to be repealed, but they're not going to be repealed if the Democrats have a majority of the state Senate. This is suicidal, this endorsement of Laura Woods as some kind of a reward because she filled out their survey. And Rocky Mountain Gun Owners is obviously a single-issue group, but politics is more important than single issues. So this one is a textbook example. Now, I suspect that Lang Sias is going to get the nomination, and he'll be the Republican nominee. And I don't know whether a libertarian, whether Lloyd Sweeney is going to throw his hat in the ring and run in this Colorado Senate District 19 race again like he did the last time. But Lloyd Sweeney or any other libertarian, if you're listening, please be practical and reasonable. No libertarian is going to win in Colorado Senate District 19, and libertarians steal far more votes from Republicans and Democrats. If you had to make a forced choice between a Democrat and Lang Sias, the Republican, obviously a rational libertarian, and there are some rational libertarians, would vote for the Republicans. Don't help the Democrats hold that seat. The chances of Democrats endorsing almost anything on the libertarian agenda is infinitely less likely than if a Republican holds that seat. So there you go. There's my flat-out endorsement in the Republican primary in Colorado Senate District 19, and it's for Lang Sias, not for Laura Woods.